So this is the SYS source selector slash preamp from Schiit Audio. So I wanted to do a quick little review slash demo-ish explanation video about what the SYS is and how you would use it. So first and foremost, the SYS is meant as a preamp. So essentially what a preamp is a volume control for an amplifier, and it's placed in the signal chain after the source, so after the DAC, and before the actual amplifier. So the main thing that you would use a preamp for is powered monitors like the JBL LSR 305s. Since they already have their own built-in amplifiers, you simply set the amplifier to the level of amplification that you desire at full line level, and then you place the preamp in between the DAC and the speakers, and that way you can control the volume going to the speakers. So as we can see on the SYS, on the front of the SYS here, there are two things. There's a volume knob, so that's part of the preamp that's used to control the volume of the source, the signal going through the SYS. And there is a source selector. In case you're wondering, SYS is an acronym, it's SYS. It stands for Switch Your Shit. Or in cases where you're not using Schiit Audio's other gear with the SYS, it's, switch your stuff. And looking at the back of the SYS, we can see there are two line inputs, and these are all RCAs. So you have two line inputs, which the switch on the front switches between the two, and then a line out, which goes to your amplifier. So a quick note, you may be wondering, which I did, and you may have seen other reviews that have suggested a certain use case for the SYS preamp. So while you can feed a signal into the output and split it between the two inputs, so essentially reverse the signal path and use the SYS to switch the signal between two different amplifiers. So let's say you want to use one output or one input to go towards some powered monitors, and you want the other end to go towards your headphones. You cannot use it that way. I mean, you can, but you can't use the preamp function. In order to just switch a signal through the reverse path, you have to have the volume set all the way to full, and then just use it as a switch. I did actually try it, and you can definitely, the volume doesn't work right. I don't remember if it's like an off balance thing, but it definitely just doesn't sound right unless you have the potentiometer all the way up to 100%. Then you can switch between the sources and it sounds fine. But in that case, if you're just getting it as a switch, there are plenty of other things that you can get for probably cheaper. And you can always just do a Y splitter on some RCAs, and that's just as easy. So you may be wondering why you would want to get something like the SYS instead of just a standard preamp, just something with a line in or RCA in, RCA out, and a knob, a potentiometer. So because the SYS allows you to switch between two sources, you can actually do a couple of cool things with it. So first case scenario, let's say you have a DAC and a headphone amp, but you want to get some powered monitors. So you already have the DAC, so like when I first started out, I already had the Modi 2, and I had an O2, the headphone amp. Now the O2, at least this version, does not have a preamp built into it, so it's line in, headphone out, and then adjust the volume going to the headphones. But then I wanted to get some powered monitors, and to be able to control the volume going to those, I needed a potentiometer. There are some cheaper potentiometers that you can get that are just single, like straight line path, input, output, but the most of them around, because the SYS costs about $50, most of them around that price range don't come with the ability to switch. So what the SYS allows you to do is take multiple inputs. So with the powered monitors, I could have one input going from the Modi into the SYS, and then I could control the volume from that going out to the speakers. And I could also, since there are two inputs, I could do something like the Moto Stream that I have, which is a little a Bluetooth enabled device. So you just hook your phone up to it and you can stream music from your phone over to the Moto Stream. Something like also like a Chromecast would work with this. So you put the input from that into the other source, and then you can switch between using the onboard audio on your computer, so the DAC, the Modi in my case, or if you don't want to turn your computer on and you just have an external device that you can stream music to, you can switch to that and then listen to that device on the speakers. Another cool thing that you can do is just get an RCA to 3.5mm plug and just hook that straight into your phone, and you can play music from your phone or your computer. It's actually useful for when you want to switch back and forth comparing different sources. And finally, another thing that some people will use it for is a phono preamp. So essentially, if you have a turntable and you have a phono stage, you just output from the phono stage directly into the SYS, and then you can use that as a volume control going from your turntable out to your speakers. And finally, another use for that would be if you don't have speakers, but let's say you have a turntable and you just want to use it with headphones, you can actually go one output from your DAC from your computer. So you do computer to DAC to the SYS, and then another output from your turntable phono to the SYS. And then you can switch between your computer and turntable, and then you feed the signal from the SYS into your headphone amp, and you set the volume that you want on your headphone amp, plug into that, and then just use the volume control on the SYS as your actual volume control. So now just to go over build and aesthetics, the SYS does use the same chassis that Schiit's other small form factor units use, like the Mani, Modi, Magni, Valley. I think that's it. And it has the same finish, like the Fulla 2 has the same finish. It's that kind of, I guess it's like anodized finish. It's not really brushed like the higher end units. It does use the same potentiometer that they use in the Magni and the Valley. They're smaller form factor amps. And the switch is a nice little click switch with the same finish as the volume knob. So there are a couple of small issues with the SYS, like the Valley and the Magni. The volume knob, the indicator on the volume knob is pretty poor. It's really difficult to see what it's set to unless you're like right up on it looking directly at it. So a little bit better of indication would be nice. Plus it's very smooth. I mean, it's not too difficult to turn, but you know, something a little bit more textured or a little bit more comfortable would be nice. So secondly, if you see the indicator here for the switch, you'll see out is on the left and in is on the right. Now, it would be nice if those corresponded to the input on the left and the input on the right, but they're actually switched. So the out position selects the right source and the in position selects the left source. And finally, if we get up close here, you can see that, like most things, the tolerances are pretty off. So this switch, there's a much bigger gap on the left over here than there is on the right. So that's just another little kind of nitpicky thing. And like all of Schiit's smaller units, the SYS comes with these little stick-on rubber feet. And you can see I've scuffed up the bottom a little bit. And then you have the RCAs, which are just your standard RCAs, and those are pretty good. Pretty good. And finally, on the inside is actually a PCB with traces. If you want to see that, you can check out the linked product page in the description that actually goes to Schiit's page, where you can see all of the information that they provide on the SYS. So if you are in the market for a preamp and you like the aesthetics of the SYS and you could use a switch at the same time, I highly recommend this little thing. You know, the inconsistencies aside, it is a great unit. I haven't had any issues. There's no channel imbalance. There's no noise in the potentiometer. It works flawlessly. So, and really at $50, it's a little on the pricey side, but for what you're getting and for the competition out there, it's actually a pretty decent price. All right, well that does it for this review, overview, kind of demo, not really demo, explanation video, whatever it is. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button. If you want to continue to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button down below. I am going to be putting out roughly one video a week, although my goal is ultimately to get up to once every like 3 to 4 days. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.